For those of you that don't know me, my name's Andrew Smith, and I'm a founder of Willie Smith's, and welcome to This Is Our Place. So I've been invited today to keep you awake. Frenchie informs me that there's a few that have been out till 4:30, so you've had a pretty big night. So I'll probably put you to sleep. So what you see behind you is a 1942 built case-making shed. So there were sheds like this all over the Huon Valley. Obviously the Huon Valley, or Tasmania, was the largest apple producer in the southern hemisphere in the 1960s, and it was really vibrant industry, and there was these case-making sheds. 1967 there was a massive bushfire came through the southern end of Tasmania all the way through here in Brewery Island, took a lot of these old sheds out. But we've revamped this one into the home of our cider. My story is, like many people, and I see a few familiar faces here, I'm one of many generational orchardists down here in the valley. Generally, if your parents don't like you, they hand it on the family farm, and away we went. And I've been an apple producer. I, like many, realised that early 90s, mid 90s and late 90s that the industry was in big trouble. Obviously apples are a commodity market and oversupplied almost globally. So we diversified into organic production. That was our necessity is the mother of invention, and that was what we did. Shortly into that journey, in about 2005, 2006, we realised that we're actually pretty shit apple growers, that we needed to do something else, so we maybe needed a value-added business. So we started to look at cider and cider production as well to get rid of it. The real story is that freight is the second largest item on our P&L in Tasmania. We go wages and freight. It costs $11 a case to get a case of apples to Brisbane. So it's a big ticket item, and what we were doing was we were freighting juice apples up the road, and the freight bill was actually bigger than the return on the juice apples. So we needed to do something value added. Right at that time we were thinking about it, 2008, GFC happened, but shortly after that there was the Alco Pops tax. When the alcohol industry is completely dominated by tax law, the minute the tax law changes, the market changes. So that created an opportunity for cider and cider products. Obviously wine equalisation taxes applied to cider, and we could see that there was going to be a lift in cider very quickly. So we set about forming Willie Smith's as a value-added business based on the fact that we saw some growth in the market. Our goal was to build a business that would produce, ultimately take 1% of the Australian cider market. The Australian cider market is 100 million litres a year. We wanted 1% of that, and we wanted to get to 1 million litres. So we're sort of 12 years into that journey. We haven't been able to get to 1%. There's been a whole lot of things happened in the process. COVID being one, obviously, that was a big jolt in the system. And now post-COVID, inflationary pressure, which has put a lot of pressure on the market, risen our costs. And of course, people are drinking less. So for the first time in history, there's been a downturn in the consumption of alcohol. In the United States, they're seeing an 18% decline in the consumption of beer, which is the first time in history it's gone backwards. So the big guys are feeling it there. So we've levelled out at about 600,000 litres of cider. That's where we're sitting at the moment until we see some more growth in the market and hopefully see some opportunity. That's a little bit about what we're doing here. Obviously, this venue, we purchased this because of its location. Our property's just down the road. It's on the highway here. We've renovated this. The cellar door experience is a big part of what we're trying to offer here. It's a home. It's where we get the opportunity to tell our story, to promote our brand and tell the story of the industry, which is important. You know, on a personal level, agriculture in the valley is tough. It's very tough. Our isolation from major markets are really starting to bite. Our cost of freight to getting to mainland, the inflationary pressure, it means that ultimately only the products that are high end at the top of the market, and certainly cherries out of Tasmania are filling that hole, are going to survive going forward. Any commodity products are going to be very, very tough. So I see some more rationalisation in ag, certainly in horticulture in Tasmania if things don't change. I'm happy to take any questions, if anyone would like to ask any. Yep.
Good day, Andrew. You had a pretty epic story around packaging. I don't know if you're going to lead on to that, but I think maybe there'll be some people here that will be interested.
Yeah, the packaging story is not a great one. We've always tried to diversify and innovate, so the core of our business, hopefully everything going well and barring natural disasters, 70 or 80% of what we do is fresh apple sales into the supermarkets, and then we value add the rest. We've always tried to create a point of difference, and in 2018 we decided to put a proposal to Woolworths to do home compostable packaging. And what that meant was we were buying packaging out of Israel. We're sending it to Germany to get printed because it had to be printed in edible ink, and at the time there was only 2 companies in the world that could print 7 colours, and then shipping it out here and putting it on the supermarket shelves. Post-COVID and with freight disruption and the increase in freight, and then in later times with the increase with what's happening in Israel and an increase in home compostable, we've had to divert back to plastic. It's just absolutely priced us out of the market. To put it into perspective, we were bringing a container of packaging in from La Spezia in Italy for $4,500 in 2019. During COVID, it cost us $40,000 a container in freight, and it's levelled out the fluctuations now. A roll of home compostable film was about $650 a roll as opposed to $150 for bot film. So we've had to redivert back because of all the other inflationary pressure. The interesting thing from a home compostable point of view, and this is just being really honest, is in that period we put about 7 million home compostable packs through Woolworths, and we get 3 bits of feedback about our product a week on average, 2 or 3, some weeks nothing, but most months 2 or 3 a week. In 7 million packs, we didn't get one person say thank you for putting home compostable into the market.
Yeah. No one.
Not one. No one trusted it. So we didn't get that feedback. So we really put a huge amount of effort into that, and that was our feedback. So we think cardboard is where we'll go going forward, eventually out of bot into a cardboard format. It's more tactile, people know what to do with it, they can throw it in the bin, they can put it in the garden, they can do whatever they like. So, yeah.
You've obviously, your journey's been very focused on value adding and premiumisation of your product, and you recognising the importance of aiming for higher end products with the issues of freight. Where do you see Willie Smith and where do you see your industry going in terms of products that are going to, in terms of that high end market?
So I honestly believe that club varieties are a natural progression.
In the apple space and in the sort of the juice space.
Yeah. So with the apples, I think club varieties, and the reason being that you can ultimately control the end sale of that product and get out of that commodity space. So although I think Pink Ladies, Galas and Granny Smiths are here to stay for an extended period of time in the market, and we'll all play those market fluctuations, at least with the club varieties, you can control the space. The alcohol sector is a little bit different, and as opposed to apples, where apples are very much a commodity, you can actually you can put value into your value-added products by entering awards and doing the cider awards and trying to consistently build a higher quality product. So for us, what we've done in the cider business is we've planted single varietal and cider apple varieties to try and continue to improve and sophisticate our product into the market. I thought I was smart being an apple grower and trying to potentially get out of a commodity space with 300 or 400 other competitors in the apple industry. All I did was go into Dan Murphy's with 15,000 more alcohol competitors and try and play in that space. So the space is more competitive. Interesting anecdote about that. During COVID, Dan Murphy's wanted to help their supplier base, and they gave small business terms of 14-day payment terms to all these small businesses wanting to get on the shelf. Now, post-COVID, and in this period where consumption's dropping, they're actually using that as a vehicle to take products off the shelf, because if it's taking 3 months to sell your product and they've paid you in 14 days, it's not working for their business, so you're getting a line through your product. So it's all about turnover. It's all about keeping that product moving. We would struggle putting a team on the road to go around Australia and sell our apple products. Go and buy these apples and go and buy them off the shelf. I don't think that would work for us as a supplier through Woolworths. We actually win in the cider business by having people on the road, getting brand in hand, getting product out there. All of a sudden people come looking for our product, and this venue works very well for that as well. So you can really stand out as a brand in the value added sector, as opposed to back at the coalface.
G'day Andrew. What are the opportunities you see around export and maybe an omni-channel strategy like B2C? Do you play in that space?
My father used to sum up export very well. The first rule of export is to produce it in the cheapest country in the world and sell it to the richest country in the world. We are the richest country in the world. We're going to find it really, really difficult. It's interesting, we go into all these markets and we think that we've got something to sell, clean and green, point of difference. Everyone's going in with the same story. New Zealand's going in with the same story, South America's going in, and South Africa's going in with probably a tenth of our wage rate. I just feel like I want to be an export, and we are actively trying to export both products, actively. But we really are struggling to be price competitive with the rest of the world, who's going through, probably for the first time in history, everyone in the world's going through, firstly COVID, and now this inflationary period where I feel like all the dice have been chucked up and they're all landing here, you know, so there's been a real difference, but we're going to struggle against emerging economies.
And your B2C, do you do any of that kind of work?
Yes, we've invested heavily and done a lot of work on that. So if you go on our website is completely transformed from a vehicle to tell our story into a vehicle to sell our product direct to consumer. And yes, we are mildly successful with that, but we've invested heavily at a time when, quite frankly, alcohol consumption has dropped, and where the first thing that people are doing at the moment is they're looking at their Netflix subscription and they're looking at their wine subscription and they're deciding which one they keep and which one they don't. And I think that everyone in the country is doing that. So we want to be B2C, and we can send a 4-pack of cider to someone's house as opposed to a kilo of apples, which won't make it in good shape. So it's made for it, but it's all about timing.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I think I'll put you to sleep. Frenchie's still awake.
Any more plans for cherries?
No, I'm too old for cherries. I think, honestly, I've thought about it. I mean, cherries have an amazing export opportunity out of Tasmania. There's two things. Organic cherries are extremely difficult to grow. So we have, we think, some really strong intellectual property around growing really high quality organic apples, because an apple tree at some point in its life doesn't mind its throat being cut. It doesn't mind thinking that, you know, it doesn't need to grow strongly. In fact, an apple tree, if it's, the stronger it grows, the less fruit it produces. A cherry tree needs push, and we struggle with the tools in the toolbox to be able to grow a high quality product. We grow some cherries. We have a small volume of organic cherries. Howard won't even look at them when he drives past. He's that upset with them. Not in a good way. He just thinks they're embarrassing. They need push. So we don't have the tools in the toolbox to be able to grow a scalable and repeatable process of doing that year in and year out. If we put rain covers on, we increase our humidity. We don't have the products to control that humidity once we change the environment. So I've decided not to. The other thing is, all of us have been in the game for a while. If you start now, it's not a 2-year journey, it's a 20-year journey. And I'm not prepared to start anything else. So I'll keep hoeing the road that I've started, and I'll see where that takes me.
All right, I think we need to give Andrew a big round of applause.